Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show, Taylor and Jim Heath. Jim is Reverend Horton Heat. Is Reverend Horton Heat and is the artist and the band kind of like one of two of one, right?
Yeah, what is it? I don't know. Is it the band? Is it me? Is it my alter ego?
I think I like it
Is,
the best.
is it my yeah? What's that now?
I think I like it the best. I think going back to this now, when I talk to somebody who's done a lot of interviews, and I've seen a lot of interviews, it's always for me the challenge to come back and I want to bring something interesting. So say fans of you will learn something new, make it interesting for you, so you don't just want to walk out into traffic during this. And then the other one is hopefully a new fan will get turned on by you. But that being said, I know there's a question you get a lot. It's like, what is Reverend Horton Heat? And I think my favorite answer is always you're like, it's like an evil side of you. It's another version of you, an amalgamation of you is always the kind of the fun answer you always give. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, not really, not in the sense of like unknown Henson. Do you know who that is? But
yeah.
he's like a whole other person and character when he dresses up in his get up and he's on.
Oh, okay.
So it's not as far as that, but I will say I kind of become a different person. I mean, it's because I guess as an entertainer, I need to be, all, hey, I'm entertaining you, that kind of, but, 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 so to agree, it's like that, but yeah, and I kind of lead a double life in a way. Even my family knows it. Because I'm at home and I'm a dad. Like, did you clean your room?
Yeah.
Did you do your homework? And then when I get up on stage, I'm all this crazy guy. And my daughter told me, she goes, when you get up there and start doing that, she goes, it scares me.
But you're doing it right.
So maybe I'm doing it right. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it. If you're
Good.
scaring your kids, you're doing it right. Every time I scare my kids, I'm doing it right. It's fun because you're a consummate performer, and like I said earlier, I've seen you a lot. And my friend Dom, who's watching this, hello Dom, thank you for introducing me to all these live shows. Now, Dom's a good friend. I've never heard a song for him like Jimbo, so I question how good a friend I am. I've never heard a song for him, so that that remains to be seen. But what your live shows are fun though. It's serious, but it's fun. Like you'll tell a story, you'll make some faces, you get goofy, but then you really you play hard though. It's serious. You're playing serious, but you're still fun with your lyrics, you know. And I think you've always been that way. At this point, is it just a natural thing, or is this how you're like this is who you are always going to be like when you write songs? You know?
Well, I can't predict the future, but I do know that, I've pretty much honed in on what I do. And you're right. I have some songs that are really serious and dark, but
Yeah.
then I have some others that are funny and goofy even. And so, I try to, not just be one thing, and then always expanding as an artist. You have to be open minded to going unusual directions, and being fluid with kind of taking what comes out of the ethos and turning it into a song and a performance. But that being said, the other part of that, the component of that is that I do think that part of having an art form, even if you're a painter or something like that, is you have to find your niche. You got to find your style. You can't just be like, hey, I did a beautiful portrait, and then now I'm doing this abstract stuff, and now I'm doing this like it, because then you're not having the guts to decide
Right.
I'm a rockabilly. I'm a rockabilly. And so that's, getting in, hanging around artists and everything. I just started thinking to myself, this rockabilly thing, that's what I do, And so for me, and it's not just rockabilly. It's just being influenced a lot by mid-century American stuff. And that decision to go that direction was kind of all the bands in Dallas, Texas were trying to sound like they were from England,
Yeah,
and here I come out sounding like I'm from Dallas, Texas. and and so but that's what I did. I'm focusing on that. So that's been kind of the 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 balance of my career is that I love mid-century music, especially rockabilly, all sorts of stuff from the mid 20th century. But then I
hmm
balance that with having the artistic side of me that is willing to open my brain to doing stuff that's out of the that strays away from all that. So it's a balance because like if you're a big fan of say a great Western swing group like Asleep at the Wheel,
hmm
and you go to an Asleep at the Wheel show, and all of a sudden Ray Benson has reinvented himself, and now they're playing emo, and he's dressing like a hipster. It's like
that would be sad.
sad, right?
On a lot of levels, that would be sad. Not just on that point, but yeah.
My life has taken some turns that I don't really necessarily think I did the right thing, but but we were in a situation where we did the best we could considering who our fans were, and we still do that to this day. So I mean, it's you gotta have the guts to make a decision, but then you also have to have the guts to veer away from that decision. And so I give up a lot of control, and that's kind of something that I probably shouldn't have done in my career. Is like, well, some of the biggest mistakes I made in my career was listening to producers who would influence our music in ways that now I wish that we could re-record a lot of our music.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, so but I mean, it's all good. I'm working on new stuff.
Let's talk about that before we go back. I'm not very linear, so let's talk about what's going on for 2025. I mean, and also Awesome Shirt. They were an awesome band that opened up for you last tour.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They were
uh-huh.
great. They're a great band. People check them out.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Surfer Jets are
Uh,
awesome.
they were so
Yeah.
good. Um, let's talk about what's going on with you this year. New music,
Well,
tour.
I'm biting off more than I can chew because yes, we've got our tour schedule is crazy. We're doing a big tour of the West Coast coming this first week of February,
hmm
and then we're doing all sorts of other tours this year. Going to do a 5 day cruise, the Little Stevens Underground Garage cruise,
Oh,
with
really?
us and Social Distortion and X and Rocket from the Crypt
Oh,
and
wow.
a bunch of cool bands. Too many to remember, but
Right.
um, but that's going to be kind of a thing that is different from us. But yeah, we I'm working. I'm in fact, we're rehearsing here in just a little while. I have to meet the guy. I'm going to have to leave and meet the guys here in just a little bit because I've got we're having to work up. We're trying to work up some more songs for this next tour, change our set list around, but we're also trying to work on some new original music. And so that's coming. I'm There's some stuff I don't want to talk about because it gets into the world of
I understand.
television and film. And I don't know why I'm so superstitious about, well, I do know why I'm superstitious about working in television and film. Is because stuff never pans out. It never works. And they like it if you talk to somebody about doing a film or a show or
Yeah.
something and then it just goes away more than I can chew because I started making these little records on a vanity record label, ridiculous name, Fun Guy Records, and so I one of the records I released all of a sudden got to number 5 on the alt country charts. Is Jimmy Dale Richardson's Dallas Barbershop Sessions. And so all of a sudden I'm going, oh man, so our last album was on my label, Fun Guy, but then
Right.
I'm working with all these other people. I'm working right now on a Jason D. Williams project. I'm
Hmm.
working on a project with some Texas people. Well, not just Texas, but internationally known, or like Jimmy Dale Richardson. He's Oklahoma, but Lance Lipinski, he's from down in Austin. Justin Pickard, he's a Dallas guy, is really great. A new band in the Dallas Fort Worth area called the Texas Zephyrs. I just recorded them or produced a recording for them last week or a couple of weeks ago. And so I'm busy. I mean, and I don't know if I have time for all this, but because there's also having your own label involves some tedious activities like bookkeeping and accounting and all that.
That's not
So,
fun. Well, you got
yeah.
to take time to talk to people like me too, on top of
Yeah.
it. So I
Well, this
appreciate
is
it.
this is the fun part,
This is the fun
Yeah,
part, right?
I'd rather be doing this than sitting there looking at a 3,000 line spreadsheet of digital airplay. Ugh.
Well, that sounds pretty horrible. I mean, well, the thing is, for you, you are a musician's musician. Some of my favorite things you've done as a guitar player myself is I love when you do the gear talk because your favorite description is like your favorite sound pretty much is twangy. Like
Uh-huh.
you know your stuff, but when it really comes down to it, you're like, yeah, my sound is twangy. I like my big beat. I like this. I try keeping it as simple as I can. I try to honor my sound. You know,
Yeah.
you'll get geeky and nerdy, but you do it to a certain point where you're like, but I don't want to get too crazy about it. You know what I mean? Like you don't get obsessed about it. You'll have fun with it. And there's a lot of good stuff for people. I recommend go check out some of the gear you've done. You talk to the shows are super fun. Do you think there's a certain thing at
It's
this
cool.
point now
Thank you.
you're welcome. You need to bring on stage with you when you go live. Now I've seen you live a bunch of times and you definitely own your sound. You have a certain sound you always have. Are there certain pieces of gear at this point that you need or feel like you should have?
Yeah, and that's one of the hard things about what I do is that some of our most lucrative shows and then some of our most important shows are shows that we have to fly out to. And when we do that, we have to rent amplifiers
Oh
and
yeah.
the backline. And
Backline
and
gear.
it's never good. For now, bass, it's a little bit of an adjustment for him too, but that's a clean thing. It's
Hmm.
more like with guitar I get a very specific type of amp distortion compression out of my amplifier, and it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
almost important to me as the sound of my guitar. I mean, because it's at least 50% of my sound with the guitar. So when I go out and I rent these amps that are just, this, and I like tube amps, but tubes, tube amps, they need to be serviced. They need to have good tubes in them, and
Hmm.
so even if that said, even if I get one that's been serviced that has great
Hmm.
sounding tubes, it's a very nice sounding amp. I barely can play because I can't manipulate
Right.
the sound. That's it's when I go down to play in this part of the neck, it's dead. Where my
Yeah.
my my sound, it might be, I'm used to being able to just slide down there and it's like butter and it's just playing, but then on like slide down and oh man, I can't hear it. I gotta play harder when I'm on this fret. And then up here it's like, oh, it's chumpy up here.
Well, it's crazy for people that don't play guitar and aren't so aware of it. I mean,
They don't
the
understand. It's hard to
well,
explain to
no,
them.
but I want to say this though. It's your setup compared to a lot of guitar players for your sound. I mean,
Yeah,
I hear your sound. I know it's your guitar. Like if I hear a record, just know it's you. But to that point, it's a very simple for guitar players. It's a very simple setup. So the fact
yeah,
that
right.
some places cannot replicate that is got to be super frustrating because you're not asking for some crazy banana setup either. you're pretty much
No.
soup to
N-
nuts, and
right, right. No, right. That's right.
so it's
Well,
definitely more frustrating.
it's
It should be easier for
not
you.
the amp that I used for a long time throughout Reverend Horton Heat was a Fender Super Reverb, and I'm going to get nerdy now.
No,
But
I love it.
the Fender Super Reverb is, and it's like the best amp ever. But really, it only gets good for me when you really turn it up, and it is too loud. And so what I do is I have a baffle,
Yeah,
and I put a baffle in front of my amp so I can adjust the volume of my amp without having to turn a knob. Because when you turn a knob on an amplifier, it's not like your stereo. The volume knob is not just turning it down or turning it up, it's
right.
changing the whole sound. And my
Which changes the
sound,
whole room.
right. So I'd rather have it on 10, and then I can back it down on the guitar to make it on the quiet parts. But then when I really need it to sing, I like it on 10. And so Gretsch started making an amp, and I was extremely skeptical, but a guy brought one out. A guy from Gretsch brought one out, and it was a lot like my Fender Super Reverb, except it wasn't as loud, and
Hmm.
it wasn't as blurry on the very high end. So I
Okay,
could actually, like on my old Super Reverbs, I always had to crank the treble all the way up, and it still wasn't
right.
quite enough. And then on these, I have to turn the treble down a little bit, and I can dial it in. It's perfect. I've been using those Gretsch amps for. It's a Gretsch Executive for a long time. But then, it gets me into this whole other thing that I discovered very early in my career, that is what's a lot of guitar players that play rock don't understand about Marshall amplifiers, is that Marshall amplifiers, if you want them to sound like the distorted Marshall sound,
Hmm.
you have to crank it up a lot. And it's a beautiful, smooth, it's big heavy metal rock sound, but it's smooth. And so these guys get these stomp boxes and these all this different stuff to try to get distortion, and they get distortion, but it's this buzzy, not
Is that the
right,
same?
not the same. So I'm real picky. Let's put it that way. Because I know, like, because I've seen it. I saw ZZ Top in 1976. Stack of Marshalls turned on 10. Les Paul through Marshalls. That's it, man. It was in. Oh, I'm getting a call. It was an
Oh, yeah.
incredible sound. And so, that's in some ways, even country guys are can be like that. They like to crank up. Junior Brown,
Yeah.
famous great country guy, man, he likes to turn his amps up to get that beautiful thing. And I've seen him wrap blankets around his amps. So it's a conundrum, but
Do you think you now? I'm speaking from just seeing you live. The challenge of you getting your sound, because your vocals always are perfectly mixed with the guitar and the frequencies. I've always appreciated about the live. And the band has
oh,
always got a
good.
good mix. But I always wonder when you're setting up your sound, and it may not be that big a deal in the frequencies you ride, setting up your sound to an empty room and then to a packed room. As we're talking about, a club like this baseball room, different because you're going to a different size shaped room, and every room sounds different. The walls bounces, the temperature sounds different with the sound. Like everything's different when you're preparing before the audience comes in. Are you at a point now where you can kind of dial in and kind of guesstimate what you're going to get? After, you know what I'm saying? Like at this point, you're like, this size room, it's this time of year. I kind of got an idea of what we're looking at, and then tweak it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's usually not the size of the room. It's usually just the boominess of the room. So
Okay.
if the room has a reverb effect built into the room, that's just not really that good for anything
Right, right.
because, no PA in the world is good enough to sound good in a boomy, crappy room. And so, and so my whole career, it's like, well, it's different when people get in here. It's like, I know that. I've been doing
Well,
this since before you were alive.
well, that's the
Yes,
whole
I
point. You know
know
what you're doing.
that,
You've got that. You've got the
but yeah, no,
resume.
we know what to do. Yeah, like one thing that we have to be very careful with the sub speakers because a lot of PAs are tuned to rap
Yep.
and metal, and they have the subwoofers cranked crazy loud, and then we come in there and then just say, oh, just high pass it all at 80, and they're like, going, what about, what about the subs? And I go, well, why don't you turn those off? So we have people just turn the subs off. And so, but it's just our sound. We try to mix ourselves, and so to the point where, and really after COVID, that kind of killed all the. We used to have a sound guy with us,
Yep.
but audio guy, but we don't do that anymore. We had to go really bare bones after COVID, and we've adapted. But we were always a very adaptable band because I mean,
Right.
before we could afford a sound man, what did we do?
Right.
We didn't have a sound man. We just went in
Yeah.
and adjust by the room and adjust. But people always like. So, do you like to play? Do you like playing the small, intimate places, or isn't that better than the big, whatever? And my answer is always no. It doesn't matter. What matters to me is the sound of the room.
Yeah.
If it's a small, intimate room that sounds terrible, I don't like that.
No, I think the mid-sized ones, the mid-sized venues, when a band can get into like the mid-sized halls that are
Yeah.
set for sound, are better
Uh-huh.
than even the big ones or the small ones because they're designed. The
Yeah, but
sound guys are in the middle of the room. When the sound
yeah,
guys
but
are in the club or to the left, it's always weird.
when we're on stage at Sturgis and opening up for Kid Rock or Eric Church, and there's 90,000 people there, buddy, there's nothing like that. That's
Well,
ninety.
that's a
That's
different energy.
ninety
That's a different energy.
thousand
I'm just talking nerd
people.
sound, now sound room.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
talking like
Well, but that's
audience.
yeah. Okay. Well, another thing too is that outdoors is beautiful because you
Yeah.
don't get anything. There's zero room effect. And so it's all what's coming out of our amps, what's coming off the drums, the PA, the guy with the
Yeah.
PA, he has a total control over the balance. And so, I don't know. Outdoors can be the
It's
best
nice.
sounding.
Have you done like
So,
Red Rocks ever?
no, we've never done Red Rocks. No, never,
I
never
mean, that's just
done
the
that.
easy thing to think about. That would be, oh my God, that would be beautiful.
Maybe, but it's a bunch of rocks. Does it have an echo?
I've heard a lot of people sound pretty good from it, and bands I wouldn't normally listen to sound better
Yeah,
than they normally would.
if it has an echo, it's like I don't want that. I see I'm picky. I'll even
No,
diss Red Rocks, but I've never played there, so I really,
I, I,
I
I,
really can't say. But no, I know what you're saying. A lot of people
yeah,
say it sounds great. It probably
right.
does. It
I haven't
probably
been there myself,
does.
so I couldn't compare it either. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, it
one
probably
of the things
does.
with you is so at this point, and this is where good stuff with touring though, and you do it every year. You've been doing it for many years now, what like 30? I mean, you've been for a long time. At this point, what are you doing to get yourself ready to go on stage and stay motivated without getting into the grind of like another day, another dollar, time to make the donuts? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are
Oh, I
we?
say that. I say that all the time. Time to
That's
make the
because we're close
donuts.
to, yeah, we're close to the same age. That's why.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I say almost every gig. Yeah,
yeah.
but no. But one thing about me that I've noticed is that and I didn't start out. I don't do it because of this, but I usually wear nice stage suits,
Hmm.
and so I've been I started I did that all on different gigs. Rockabilly guy. I'm a clothes horse,
Right,
right? I
right.
have to have
Just for
my.
the job you
I
want,
have to
right?
have. Right. I mean, I had to. I've got a closet packed full of vintage clothes and all that. But but I decided at one point because we were on Sub Pop that you know grunge rock was big. We were on a grunge rock label. I decided that I was going to be the anti grunge, and so I started wearing starched shirts and tying it to so to this day I wear a starched shirt and I have in it. But what happens now, and I never thought of this until the way it is now, is that if I don't feel good, if I'm a little
Yeah.
under the weather, or if I'm tired or whatever, once I put that stage suit on, it's like, okay, I'm ready. That gets me in the spirit and the mood. It's like, okay, it's on.
I like the outfit. I like the way it's the presentation because there's something very like the white shirts and stuff is very like every working class man from the 50s. Like you got that thing there, but when you put the jacket on, it changes it. When I saw you last, you were I think it was a ballroom. You were taking some photos with some fans, and behind you was like I don't know, it was like a bar, it had some pipes and stuff, and it looked like almost like a 1950s picture with the way the bar was set and your white shirt and stuff. Like it literally fit like the way you presented. But then you're the only one who dresses like that. It's you. You know what I mean? It's not a. It's Reverend Horton Heat. It's you know what I mean. It's part of your alter ego. You
Yeah,
know.
well, another thing about it too. Yeah, that's right. That in a way that's true. So, but another thing about it that's good about dressing for a show is that it really does send a clear message that I'm there for the audience. I'm there to entertain people. I'm there to do the best I can to play and sing really good and to entertain the people. So because the whole grunge thing and what have you, it can be a little bit like, and a lot of the red dirt country guys and are like
Hmm.
this now. They just go on stage in their dirty boots and their faded blue jeans and an untucked shirt and a ball cap.
Yep.
And it's like that's the way you dress, guy. That's the
Before.
way you dress every day when you're about to go mow your lawn. That tells the people that I'm so cool. I'm so cool. I don't even have to
Right.
dress. I'm such a hot guitar player. I don't even have to even think about
Performance.
what
Right.
I wear when I go on stage. So to me, dressing up fancy takes me down away from that narcissistic. I'm the greatest guitar player ever, so I just can wear this whatever I want. It's me. It's like, man, I got to dress nice and I got to be on point for these people. So
You know, like I said, I appreciate it, and I think the fact that you were the anti-grunge, because you've always had your own sound, and that's always been kind of
well,
fun about
thanks,
you.
Sam.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, it is. I mean, there's like great guitarists. I mean, anybody can sit in the room and shred for like 20 billion hours, right? Most people can become the most impressively boring guitar player ever, but creative and enjoyable. You know, yeah, you're a great guitar player, but you're also your riffs are very enjoyable because they you dance between an old country roots riff, and then also you get this crazy punk riff, and also then like when you're really listening to you with like headphones, like you have some riffs under there that I don't even know if people are hearing. You do some like underlying current stuff that you just kind of slide in there that really to me pumps the songs up like another level. And that's probably more of a nerd level. So people put your headphones on and listen to go back and listen to some stuff that he does because it's a little different. It's on another level. And to me, that's what makes your songs that much better because it's not just that one little catchy riff. Like you're not in that world.
Right.
Everything has a purpose. Your lyrics aren't just old or new; they're their own thing. Then you got the riffs, and then underneath it you have something else going on. And your guitars are similar, but you play. I can tell the different guitars in your albums. You switch them up for a different tone, for a lower tone. I mean, it's very. It sounds when people hear it, it sounds very not basic, but like they hear it clean because it's produced. But take it apart, you put a lot of time into those songs to sound that that tight.
Right. Well,
If I'm
thank you. I
interpreting it properly.
appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. No. No. I think that you that's it's very nice of you. I'm flattered, but I do think it is something that I try to do. I try to formulate a guitar part. So there's points where I am just playing chords because I'm singing, but there's quite a lot of songs where I'm also playing some even kind of elaborate guitar parts
Yeah,
while I'm
yeah.
while I'm singing, and it's because I try instead of just that's why acoustic guitar, like a lot of people write on acoustic guitar,
Hmm.
and that's because the style of songs is just, oh, I'm going to write a song, I've got this B minor to D to G thing, and it's like when if I'm going to write a song, I can do the B minor to G to thing, but then I'm immediately taking it into the realm of what cool guitar thing could I do in B minor, B
Right.
minor D to G here, as
Yeah.
opposed to just strumming the chords on an acoustic guitar. So for me, writing a song on an acoustic guitar is kind of a waste of time. I know that I can hear the B minor D G in my
Yeah.
head. It's like coming up with a guitar part that's not just strummy, strummy, singy, singy, I guess. And so that maybe that's what you're kind of hearing about, like that underlying stuff. I don't know. Well,
Well,
what I'm gonna do, if you don't mind, is I'm
yeah,
gonna
I'll edit
keep
this
I'm
front.
gonna
Yeah.
keep I'm gonna keep talking, but I've got to start driving. We're rehearsing today, and the
Oh,
guy I can't I completely forgot the last one. My guys showed up, and I was like
oh,
going, "Oh, I forgot." I don't like to let my guys down either. Not It's
no,
not
no,
just
no.
the
I'm
fans.
respectful of your time. I appreciate any time you give me. So
But
this
I
is
can still talk, and I'm
all
enjoying
right.
talking to
Yeah,
you. So am I back now?
you're back. Yeah, you're cutting in and out towards the end. So you're saying is you guys a good friend of yours and you have a little, his
Yeah,
history. It's almost good to have a legend without maybe having it quantified, right? The legend's always better than the truth.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of a long story, and Jason told me they did a DNA test back in the '80s, and
Hmm.
that was before DNA tests could prove positively
Yeah.
that he was, but it proved that there was a one in like million chance that he wasn't Jerry Lee's son.
That's pretty good. I think Jerry
So
Lee's
I
the
mean,
worst, and Genghis Khan probably have a lot of kids. Genghis Khan is related to every 10 people or something. I
oh
think there's this thing
really?
with Jerry Lee. Oh yeah, yeah. Genghis Khan. Look at
Hello.
the. There's like a number of how it's related to the years, and
Oh yeah.
because
Oh, that's right. He was not. He was raping and pillaging
he
and
was all over. Yeah,
trying. He was trying to procreate his. Yeah, that's like a little bit. That's a little bit more intentional than like
well,
Screaming
my
Jay
joke was just
Hawkins.
was yeah. Well, I was thinking just Shirley had a lot of fun back in the day and a wild man.
Oh, a
Then
lot
he
of
may
those
have a lot of
guys
people
have
related
a
to him.
lot of those guys have children that popped up. But
Yeah.
do you? I play guitar for some gigs with Screaming Jay Hawkins,
Oh wow.
and you've heard of him, right?
Oh, oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Well, he used to have this website, or not him, but it was called Jay's Kids. And I don't know if it's still around, but it was like a support group of all these, like, because he had like 58 kids.
Oh my God.
And so all these kids are like, and it's all these people like going, well, I always wondered why I looked different than my brothers and sisters. And it wasn't until one day my mother set me down and said, your real father is a rock and roll singer named Screaming Jay Hawkins.
That's pretty awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
I think it's great. I'm gonna have to look it up. That itself is another movie. I mean, you probably have so many movie scripts of stories you've lived, in your
Oh,
life.
I've got some crazy stories, man. That's one
Actually,
thing
would
about
there would
doing
there be a
this.
book from you at some point?
Well, that I've got friends that tell me that when they start hearing some of my zany stories, but
I think you could without being like revealing of other things. I think you tell a good story without it being like, the dirt of, what I'm saying, without
well,
having to be
the hard
bad.
the hard thing. I know what you're saying, but the hard thing is that like the best stories are stories that I don't really think I should tell about
Yeah.
people. I feel bad,
No,
because
yeah.
it's like, like because these people, rock and roll stars, movie stars, politicians. They're people. They make crazy mistakes like anybody, but maybe even more because they're famous. And it's you see what I'm saying?
I honestly, I doing
So
the
I
show,
don't
I've heard a
I
lot
would I
behind the
wouldn't
scenes.
really I wouldn't really want to spill the beans about somebody and ruin their memory or their legacy. And so,
No, but
but
these are
I
fun
would,
stories.
it would be, it would, I do have some, just the life and times of Jim Heath.
I think.
I don't know if anybody would care about that, but, and then,
You're being so modest, Jim. I mean, let's face it. You have a count. You have your own little rockabilly version of the Juggaleros. I mean, when you go to your show, you know, it's a
uh,
community. These different age groups.
uh,
I mean, it's not like you can see your audience getting younger, but also staying the same age. I've noticed it over the years because it's family. People are bringing their kids in. That's a community you have. So you do have
we
that.
definitely have that. We have really all ages now. And
Oh yeah,
so,
it's a lot of fun.
yeah, I'm grateful every day for that. And so, yeah, so, I, yeah, no, but like I said earlier in the interview, I'm really biting off more than I can chew because, you
I
know,
think you always do that.
working with all these people, I mean, gosh, I need to be working on Reverend Horton Heat music.
Do you think that you froze for a minute? I don't know
I
if you can hear me.
mean,
Do you think if you stopped and slowed down, because like let me take this. You're always saying that you're always biting off more. And I've heard this you say before, but do you think if you stopped and focused just exclusively on that, as picky as you are, you might never get anything released out? Like you might not cut yourself the slack. You know what I mean? Like it's your meter to say, all right, I got other stuff to do. I can't be beating myself up. Like it almost forces you to keep moving. You know?
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I feel like if I stop doing it, it'll all go away. So, in some ways, our this I hope I don't cut out here, but it'll cut back in if all of a sudden
Yeah.
it cuts out. But no, one of the keys to the success is that me and Jimbo were desperate. I mean, we we were. I mean, and and like it was fear. Fear is a great motivator. So if you so to aid like that yeah, for a lot of reasons, some of them were just my responsibilities as a dad, that we were just desperate. I mean, we were playing 275 shows every year for over a decade. I mean, so
I don't
we
even know
were,
how you met anybody and had kids. That's a lot. You know how many days are in a year?
I know
Crazy.
I'm really lucky that happened. And it's because my family is all very, they know what I have to do, and they're very tolerant of my career. And
Hmm.
so, so anyway, but yeah, it's fear and desperation. And so we're still kind of desperate. We still, you know, feel like if we quit doing it, it would all go away. So
Well,
we're still doing it. We need a new album though. We need a new original Reverend Horton Heat record.
are you going to keep the same drummer you have right now? Because you guys are like the Spinal Tap for drummers, the true Spinal Tap for drummers.
Yeah,
Like the guy you have
Jonathan.
playing right now is fantastic. Oh my God, playing live at the last show, he is so good.
Well, Jonathan is a little bit in a different mold than our drummers of the since the mid '90s. Is
Yeah,
he doesn't do the flashy drum solo thing. And for me, I mean, that was always an aspect of Reverend Horton Heat that didn't always fit the best with what
yeah.
I do. And so, but I mean, you get guys not just because the style of music they play, but also the guys that are good people to
Right.
hang around with, and they're hard workers, and they're there without being whiny, they're ready to get to do shows, and so. But but no, Jonathan's hanging great. Jonathan's a dear friend, and
Oh, he is so good.
he's also our tour manager. So I mean, and so he's got an incredible work ethic. So
He does a
you
lot
know,
of other stuff too, right? He's like a producer and a guitar player,
yeah,
and he's like,
he's got his own band, and they release more albums than Reverend Horton Heat does. They're constantly releasing albums and in the studio. But so yeah, now they don't play as many gigs as Reverend Horton Heat, but then
right.
he produces other people too. Like he does these projects to help. A lot of them are like songwriter type people
Mhm.
that don't really that it's hard for them to have a full band, and so Jonathan can play drums and bass and
Yeah.
guitar and he can engineer a session, and so he can produce it and get it all going, and so it's really helped a lot of people out, and then at the end of the day, that's what my record label is. I'm not going to get I, I'm probably going to lose money on almost every artist that I put out. But if I can help them and have fun doing it, that's why my label Fun Guy Records.
Yeah.
It's all about fun, and it's still that way. Today for me is that I have so much fun doing this. That's another reason I don't want to stop. So,
You wouldn't know what to do with your time. I think I have a couple other questions. And I want to respect your time. When you, because things have gotten so hard as an artist, have you ever been to a point where you're ready to just like walk away, like it's just too much, or like as an artist,
oh
that you're like, I
sure.
just want to be a studio guy, or like, and if you did, like, what else would you have done? I mean, it's kind of an interesting dynamic of a lifetime musician to kind of like look back and be like, well, you know,
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, I guess I think about all the possibilities of what I could do, and but you know, I still have a family to take care of, so I still need the money that I make from playing live music. But at the same time, too, my art form is live music, and for
right.
me, I consider live music to be a more valid art form than than being a recording artist.
Hmm.
And now that being said, I mean, I love being a recording artist, and I love that art form. I love all the stories about the studio, and I'm all interested about how the studios all worked back in the day and how they work now, and I love all that. But at the same time, I mean, music is a streaming, not not like stream a TV show.
Yeah.
It's streaming like it's not a painting that once you're done, it's on the wall and it's done forever. Or it's not like a book that you write and then it's done. It's music is it's you
It's a
play the
breathing
note,
animal.
right, and you play the notes and people dance and people are happy, then it goes away. Then you play another song, and that's one reason why it, with music you can play the same songs for 50 years and they can still be fun. It's maybe some of them less than others, and maybe you do get tired sometimes of playing certain songs, but in general, like, and that's what I gravitate to. And a lot of people, and my manager even doesn't understand fully, is that, why don't you play this song or that song, or why don't you do this or that? And I go, well, that's a pretty good song, but it's not as much fun to play as the songs, so it kind of just ends up being about Jim having fun.
Well, well, if you got to play it, you play as much as you do. It would be awful if you're not having fun because you are always having fun. I mean, you always have the biggest smile. The only time I think I've ever seen anybody have a crazier smile on your stage was the show I saw. You had a keyboard guy. He was a skinny guy. I was
Oh
like on a
yeah.
Christmas show.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah,
had
yeah.
the craziest smile. I went back and looked at my pictures. I took a bunch of pictures of your shows all the time. I look
Oh
back at
yeah.
he's got some of the craziest Pee Wee Herman smiles I've ever seen.
Matt
Laughing.
Jordan. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he
Oh,
opened
that
his
smile.
mouth when he smiled. He would open his
Yeah.
mouth so wide you could drive a truck in there, man. It
Yeah.
was
Oh,
huge.
The biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. Yes. Besides that, though, you always have the biggest smile on the stage.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, when I one of the bands I was in when I was like in high school, it might have been in when I was in high school. My mother came to see the band play,
Mhm.
and she said, Jim, you just look so sour up there. You need to smile.
And that was
Okay,
it.
mom. Okay, mom. You
She'd
know,
be
but
proud of you.
but we back then though we were serious. We were serious musicians. We could play like Dwayne Allman, and we could play like whatever
That's
Robin
funny.
Trower. I don't know, or the Big Bop or whatever. But no,
That's
we
good.
we it was yeah. So we have fun doing what we do, and yeah, and I've learned the entertainment side of that too. Sometimes you kind of just have to smile just because it sucks so bad that you're up there in a room that's so bouncy you can't hear anything. It sounds terrible. The monitors are not just not working, they're cutting on and off and crackling. It's
And it's
really
so hot
hard.
in those
It's
rooms.
really hard to concentrate on music when stuff like that is happening. And you can't stop and tell the
You
fans,
know.
I'm sorry, I'm not having fun because the monitors are crackling and just buzzing.
Well, but no,
It just,
but some people would though. You have a level, and once again, I'm saying this because from experience where you've constantly delivered it. It's going to be a fun show. It's not going to be a downer. It's going to be a high energy. No matter how hot it is, no matter how many layers of clothes you have on you, you're going to deliver it. You know what I mean? I'm like dying of sweat, and you've got your suit coat on, everything else. And you're
oh
you're ripping
yeah,
on the guitar.
yeah,
It's
no
crazy.
man. There's
You
some
know,
shows that the suit jacket comes on right after the first song.
for song, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't do much good really. It's there for one song.
It was just
But
because your set list, because you like to entertain. You know what songs are fun that you want to do. You know what the hits are. You know what you want to do for new songs. You're always trying to incorporate new songs. The battle of trying to put a good tight set that incorporates everything sounds like it's got to be more stressful than all the projects you keep adding on to yourself. Is
um
that a download for you, or is it a lot easier than I think it is?
well, if I weren't so lazy, it would be a lot easier. But yeah, no, it really is kind of up to me. So um I need to be up to speed. The guys can get up to speed a little faster because it's the bass and drum parts are
Hmm.
are a little bit more basic, and as long as they can remember the arrangement. Me, I have to I like to try to relearn difficult guitar parts that I
Yeah.
did 30 years ago, and so sitting down and relearning stuff from back then, and then getting it up to speed it's up to me. I got to just sit down and take the time to do it. And so that's kind of a challenge. It's kind of a challenge to come up with a new stage stick, and I can't always do that. So sometimes it's the same jokes, and that's when it's like I don't know if what I'm doing up here, but we yeah we this year we're going to try to come in with a little bit different songs than we've been playing. We got to change it up right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm driving off to do right now. We're getting some old and new songs in there, so it's exciting. The new songs, it's going to be. We got one really good one. I've got one really good new one that we're going to work out today. So
And these are
yeah.
new songs for. Are these songs? Is the album gonna be out in time for the tour, or like mid time,
Oh
or
no, no, with no telling what that'll entail. I mean, yeah, no, we got to get all the songs. I mean, I've got probably enough songs good enough to do a new album. But like I said again, getting those up to speed and being able to walk into a studio and just record it,
Right.
that's a whole
Time.
other thing that because if our songs were if I was more, like I said earlier, strummy, singy, then it wouldn't be. But man, frankly, a lot of my guitar parts are kind of acrobatic while I'm singing. It's hard to get it. It's hard to get it where it's really on point. And it's all of our albums. Like at the end, whenever we were done with the album, it's like I always ask myself, how did I do that? I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again, but I do. I somehow do.
I think pushing yourself is what kind of keeps you going. You stop and you think
Yeah,
about it. Like I say,
no, that's really right. Like you know, if inspiration is great, but you can't wait for it. You got to force it. You got to, and a lot of times,
fear is better too, right? Fear
yeah,
is even a better motivator.
fear is a great motivator, right? But you know what? My one of my tricks is that I'll have a rehearsal space that nobody can hear me in,
Yeah.
or maybe they could hear me next door. But I'll go into the rehearsal space and I'll crank up my amplifier and caterwauling, and I
Yeah.
know it sounds terrible, but with my amp that loud, nobody can really hear how bad my caterwauling voice is. And I'm in there and I'm like, oh no, gosh, I'm just playing the same old licks I always played.
Yeah.
But then I keep trying, and then all of a sudden, like going, ooh, what was that I just sang and played?
You're
Hmm.
scatting. You're not caterwauling. You're scatting. Just phrase it differently. You got to spell it
Yeah,
differently. You're
yeah,
scatting.
right, kind of like that. Yeah, kind of like that. And so,
You're feeling it
yeah,
out.
and so then all of a sudden, it'll be a guitar riff or a little thing that I sing together or whatever. It's like that's a good concept for a whole new song. And then the lyrics. Sometimes it's the lyrics that I write first because really
Hmm.
that's important. That's what's important is that the lyrics tell a story. And then the most fun that I have when I'm writing and producing new music is when I can get the music to go along with the lyrics. And I mean that's the magic. That's where it's like, oh my gosh, that's great, And that's when I say to myself that Jim, you just did something great. It's when I make the music sound like what I'm singing about, and it's sometimes it's sometimes it's literal
Hmm.
sounds, you know, but you, like it's always a challenge, It's like you're singing about your broken relationship, and you got, let's just say, for example, your broken relationship, and you got a metaphor about the the broken dishwasher, and that's an issue. That's one reason why you're arguing and about to get a divorce. So how do you write music that sounds like a broken dishwasher? See what I'm saying?
So
And
you're gonna say
so
that teaching me how to eat is not teaching me how to eat? It meant something else?
right, right, and so what I'll do is I'll noodle around and I'll think very hard about it, and then I'll come up with a lick or a sound that that fits, that works, and that's when it's
Right.
like, like that's genius. But I mean, but it's like if you're writing a song about doing a train sound with your guitar, that's a real literal thing. But then
Right.
other stuff too, like maybe if I wrote a song about about the dishwasher, for example. Maybe I would like mimic a whirlwind TV theme song, like for our whirlpool.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, maybe I'll just kind of infer the whirlpool theme song, or see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's like right, you want to add to it. You add layers to it, you
Right.
know.
And when I can do that, and because music, even instrumental music, that's always fascinated me how, and I love TV shows and movies and TV themes because they can evoke a mood and an image that make you actually see a place or be in a particular situation or time. Whether you're a secret agent, don't, or you're in a relationship with an older woman, and it's this type, you know what
Well,
I'm
your
saying?
music does have an audiobook feel to it. The stories and the way
Yeah,
you color them with your phrases and the guitar, it does.
that's
You're very much.
that's what I really focus on because for me, that's when it's really fun. When I can
Yeah.
make like in the song Galaxy 500,
Hmm.
I there's a guitar riff in there. La da 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 la da 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 da, where it kind of breaks down and does this. And to me, I was trying to write a TV commercial for Ford Galaxy. And so when I do stuff like that, it's really intentional.
Well, I think it makes a difference in the song. So I mean, the extra time, the special things, is what a lot of songwriters don't do, and it just separates you. That's probably why you are who you are without being the singer with the acoustic guitar. Who's singing.
Well,
I gave my
thanks.
love a cherry or whatever. We just strumming along. I think it's a little deeper. You know,
Yeah, see, I'd be trying to play a sound, make the guitar sound like a cherry.
I don't know how you do that.
Like, okay, how do I do that?
I wouldn't even
No,
know myself.
it's challenging. It's challenging, but so I don't know, man. I love music. I'm still producing music. I'm still excited about music and recording. I've got a little studio desk at my house that I can record stuff, and I can record little overdubs and vocals for sure, but then I mix and
You play some
it's
drums. You do a little bit. You play a little of everything. I mean,
yeah. I
nothing
mean,
stops you.
I do drum. I play drums because I'm not a very good drummer, but I'm very good at stylizing drums. So I know more about drumming than a lot of really good drummers do because I played with
Yeah,
so many good drummers in my career, and I
yeah.
know what I like, and I like vintage drummers are my favorites. That
Hmm.
so I and so I hear very specific drums when I write a song. I hear very specific and and drum sounds and drum. I hear it, and so it's not just like go put a kick snare on it and call it a day. So that's why I play drums. I don't do it very good, but I can get the part down so where a really good professional drummer like Jonathan or RJ or somebody can go,
Right.
oh yeah, oh no, I know what you want. I know what you want exactly.
But you've also recorded some. You have some albums with your drums on them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh
So
yeah.
you do a good job. Don't sell yourself too short.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, for simple, basic stuff, and part of that too is because I've been playing in bands for so long and I've got my own theories about drumming and about beats is like there's only like a couple of handfuls of beats that are out there. I mean, you've got a rock and roll beat to me is a straight A. A rock beat is just a slowed down rock and roll beat. Boom, bum, 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 boom, bum, 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 bum.
Hmm.
And so then you've got, I mean, I could go through the list of beats: the funk beat, cut time beat, blues, shuffle, swing beats. Like their swing is like basically a blues shuffle is basically a swing beat just slowed down a little bit. But there's different ways to play those. Obviously. But I think about this. I think about it a lot when I'm writing songs because it really helps to have. And a lot of bands don't realize this, and so every song is almost like the same beat, and it
It
really
does.
breaks
Yeah.
up. It breaks up the album if one song is a cut time beat, the next song is a rock and roll beat, the next song is a swing beat, the next song is a country shuffle, the next song is So I think a lot about that, like because I might have a couple of really great or what I can good for me that I or fun for me. I don't want to say
Right.
it right, but good country shuffle songs. But then all of a sudden I'm going, man, can this album support having two country shuffles? No, I've got to pick one, and the other one goes away for a while. So I do that. So I think about that a whole lot, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of really good drummers that don't think about that at all. They just play the beat that they hear without stopping to think of where that came from. And so, like one thing that's is the funk beat. So hip hop is all that's funk beats, and and then a funk beat like smells like Teen Spirit. That's a funk beat. You wouldn't think of that. Oh no, that's a grunge, postmodern punk, post punk.
Right.
It's like, well, it's a funk beat, but it's just, boom, 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 boom. And you say, no, that's right. Well, it's a funk. The way I look at it in my world, yeah, it's a rock song. It's one of the best. It's one of the best, most famous grunge rock songs. But it's a funk beat, boom, bump, boom, boom,
Well,
boom, boom,
most
boom,
grunge is
boom,
rock
boom, boom,
anyhow,
boom.
with just a different
Hey,
name to it.
boom, 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 boom. Get with it, boom, boom. James Brown, ow, it's a funk beat, and I
Well,
love funk beats. I love James Brown, but it's almost too much. It's almost like every song is that now, and so the rock and roll beat that's long gone, and that's one of my favorites. So I do a lot of rock and roll beats.
I think your albums are very diverse, though, like that. And I think your shows are diverse
Well, we don't
with
do.
your.
I've only done a couple of songs, and maybe just one that has a funk beat. I don't do funk beats because I let everybody else do that on every song.
Right. But
All right,
say
great.
hi. That'd be awesome.
Excellent, man. Thank you so much. It's been really a fun interview. Good
It's been
job.
it's been fun. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You take care.
Okay, you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.